increase their support for separatist ethnic groups on the borders of Iran, whether it's Kurds to the west or whether it's Baluchs to the east, Arab elements in the south of the country, to essentially disintegrate Iran as a whole. We've seen similar efforts, perhaps not with the same intensity, now taking place in Syria. We saw how the Israelis started to bombing the crap out of Syria as soon as Assad fell, making sure that there were no military capability left in Syria. So regardless of who came to power, they would not be able to pose a challenge to Israel for quite some time. And then, of course, this investment in the Druze, in which many of the Druze they were pushing back. They did not want to be part of any effort by the Israelis to essentially disintegrate Syria, but identify themselves first as Syrians. So those attempts will be there. Whether they will be successful or not is, of course, a different story. But this is not a new scenario for the Iranians. This is actually a struggle that they have faced for several hundred years, that there's constantly been efforts to try to disintegrate the state and turn one country into several different ones. There's a quote from Tariq Aziz, the former foreign minister of Iraq, who said that part of the reason for the invasion of Iran by the Iraqis under Saddam in 1980 was to turn one big Iran into 6 small Irans.
Trita, I want to ask a simple question, which is why now for Israel invading Iran? Because I saw a clip that was being passed around on Twitter, X, I suppose, last night, with Benjamin Netanyahu from the 1990s until today saying Iran is on the verge of a nuclear weapon, right? Like, this is not a new warning from Netanyahu. What occasioned the decision for this to happen that obviously has now sort of sparked the flame?
First of all, you're absolutely right. This has been something that the Israelis have been looking to do for a very long time, and at several occasions got pretty close to. Back then, it was more that they would really take an independent decision, not even inform the U.S. of it, and then try to pull the U.S. into it. This one was more coordinated, without a doubt, and they received at least some form of a yellowish, greenish light from Trump. I think there's a couple of factors that come into play here. First of all, Trump walked into Israel's trap several weeks ago. He had started negotiations. His position was a reasonable one, a functional one. He said that his only red line was no weaponization. Then halfway through, under pressure from Israel, he changed his position to no enrichment, meaning that the Iranians would have to dismantle the entire program. The Israelis knew very well that that would lead to an impasse and a deadlock in the talks. That deadlock then frustrated a very impatient Trump. And then the Israelis came in and said, well, let us take military action. Let us do it. You don't have to do anything. We'll do it. And that will soften the Iranian position and will force them to come to an acceptance of surrender. Of course, they knew also very well that that would not work out. So within 24 to 48 hours after attacking Iran, they came straight back to Trump and said, that idea about us taking care of this, actually, why don't you step in and finish the job? And from the very beginning, this was very clear and extremely predictable. I wrote about it at the time that this is the direction we would be going in. Had Trump not given in to the Israelis on zero enrichment, I think we would have had a framework agreement by now between the US and Iran. The other factor that comes in is some changes taking place at the top at the Pentagon. The head of the CENTCOM Kurilla has long been an advocate for taking military action against Iran. He's the one who convinced Trump to go in and start bombing Yemen, which Trump foolishly accepted, but then thankfully ended 45 or so days later. He's been coordinating very closely, this Kurilla, with the Israelis, and his term is up sometime in July. So this was the last chance to also do it while he was there, which essentially meant that there would be a very, very strong advocate for this within the Pentagon, and a very effective bureaucratic advocate within the Pentagon, who was fighting with other elements of the Pentagon, who wanted to shift the focus of the United States towards Asia and did not have any patience for either moving troops and assets to the Middle East or actually getting involved in wars of this kind.
It is fascinating because while I agree with your analysis, it seems clear Trump is going along with this for now, has issued declarations that are supportive of the Israeli position and of either toppling the regime or forcing them to concede some ground that you say they're never going to do. So that brings us to the brink of war. There are some people still in the administration, like Tulsi Gabbard, for instance, who has put out previous statements about how far Iran actually is from a nuclear weapon. Vance remains the vice president in public, very supportive of Trump always. Behind the scenes, we saw actually from those leaked Signalgate chats from weeks ago, right, that he does have, I think, more of an ideological, non-interventionist streak in him, and I wonder what he's doing behind the scenes. I think this is still somewhat of an open question, although the ground is shifting rather rapidly against the non-interventionists. What do you think is going on? What insights do you have behind the scenes as they think through, as the administration thinks through, or maybe is having a debate in private about whether it is correct to get dragged into this greater conflict by Israel?
I think at this point, we have to be frank about the fact that it's no longer the Israelis dragging the US into it. It is Trump dragging the US into it right now. As I mentioned, he walked into that trap, and now he's put in this situation. He has the nimbleness to be able to get himself out of this, get America out of this, but so far that's not the direction he's gone. From what I understand in conversations I've had, there's a lot of frustration, a lot of people inside the system that are very unhappy. This is not the direction they wanted to go. This is not the direction they thought Trump wanted to go in. There's been a very significant change in Trump's attitude just in the 7 or 8 days. It's not entirely clear what caused it to be such a stark shift in this way. And clearly, no one's going to go out there and publicly disagree with the administration, but behind the scenes, there is a lot of disagreement and a lot of concern about what this will mean. I think there's still a small chance that this could be turned around, but also I think that it's important to recognize that even if that war starts, the next battle will be, how will the war end and when will that war end? And the end of that war can come very quickly. So even if the war starts, there can still be a scenario in which this ends quickly, not the 45 days, which also was relatively quickly for American standards of how long we fight wars, but nevertheless something that does not end up leading to the full-scale Armageddon scenario in which the U.S. gets entrapped in yet another endless war that is completely unwinnable, costs the U.S. a tremendous amount, destabilizes the region, gives birth to new radical movements and terrorist organizations, just as the invasion of Iraq directly led to the emergence of ISIS.
Trita, thank you for your time and expertise.
Thank you so much.
Coming up, Tucker Carlson rips into Senator Ted Cruz over the Israel-Iran conflict. That video is next on Rising.